The ochre dust of the Limpopo Valley swirled under a relentless sun, a daily ritual as old as the baobab trees that stood sentinel over the landscape. This was a land where the veil between the seen and unseen was thin, where the whispers of ancestors mingled with the rustling of dry grass. Here, in the heart of a community bound by ancient traditions, lived Themba, a young man whose heart was as parched as the land in the dry season. His gaze, often lost in the distance, was fixed on Naledi, a vision of grace and light, who seemed to embody the very spirit of the earth itself. Her laughter, like the tinkling of a distant stream, was a melody that haunted his every waking moment. She was the daughter of the village chief, her destiny intertwined with the leadership of their people, a world away from Themba's humble life as a cattle herder. This chasm, this unbridgeable divide, fueled a longing in Themba that bordered on desperation. Themba's world was one of simple rhythms and deep-rooted beliefs. The elders, their faces etched with the wisdom of generations, held the keys to the past, their stories a tapestry woven with tales of both wonder and warning. The Tokoloshe, a creature of folklore, was not just a myth but a tangible presence, a mischievous spirit that could be both a blessing and a curse. It was a part of their lives, as real as the cattle that grazed in the fields and the ancestors that watched over them. This duality, the constant awareness of both the seen and unseen, shaped their existence, guiding their choices and influencing their fate. Themba, though raised in this world of ancient beliefs, was about to challenge its very foundations, driven by a love that had become an all-consuming obsession. Naledi, on the other hand, was a beacon of hope and promise. Her spirit was as bright as the morning sun, her heart as pure as the spring water that flowed through the valley. She was destined for greatness, her life already mapped out by tradition and responsibility. She was admired by all, her beauty both captivating and intimidating. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, there was a quiet longing, a yearning for something more than the life that had been chosen for her. She was unaware of the storm brewing in Themba's heart, the dark path he was about to embark on, a path that would inevitably entangle her in its treacherous web. Themba's best friend, Sifo, was a voice of reason, a grounding force in his friend's increasingly troubled life. He saw the desperation in Themba's eyes, the unhealthy obsession that had taken root in his soul. He warned him of the dangers of tampering with the supernatural, of the consequences of crossing the boundaries that had been set by their ancestors. But his words fell on deaf ears, drowned out by the roar of Themba's desire. Sifo knew that his friend was walking a dangerous path, a path that could lead to his destruction, and he felt helpless to stop him. This initial conflict, the struggle between Themba's desires and the warnings of his friend, sets the stage for a tragedy that would reverberate through their community. The air was thick with anticipation, the quiet before a storm, as Themba's obsession began to consume him. The heart of the story beats within the valley of Kwazuma, a place where the ancient rhythms of life dictate the daily flow. The landscape is a tapestry of rolling hills, dotted with acacia trees that offer scant shade from the scorching sun. The air, thick with the scent of wood smoke and the earthy aroma of the veldt, carries the whispers of the ancestors, their presence felt in the rustling of the grass and the call of the birds. The village itself is a collection of mud huts, their thatched roofs blending seamlessly with the natural surroundings. It's a place where community is paramount, where families work together, sharing the joys and burdens of life. This is the world that shaped Themba, a young man whose destiny is about to take a dark and perilous turn. Themba, unlike many of the young men in his village, was always a dreamer, his mind often wandering beyond the confines of his daily chores. He was a skilled herder, his knowledge of the land and the animals unmatched, but his heart yearned for something more. His childhood was filled with stories of brave warriors and powerful spirits, tales that ignited his imagination and fueled his desire for greatness. But his dreams were always overshadowed by his unrequited love for Naledi, a love that had become an all-consuming obsession. He saw her not just as a beautiful woman, but as the embodiment of everything he desired, a symbol of the life he longed for. This obsession, this unwavering focus on Naledi, was the driving force behind his actions, a dangerous seed was about to sprout into a deadly bloom. Naledi, the daughter of Chief Zola, was raised with the weight of her lineage on her shoulders. She was taught the traditions of her people, the importance of leadership, and the responsibilities that came with her birthright. She was not just a beauty, but a woman of strength and intelligence, her mind as sharp as her wit. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, there was a hint of vulnerability, a yearning for a life beyond the confines of her expected role. She was aware of the expectations placed upon her, the path that had been laid out for her, but she also yearned for a love that was not dictated by tradition or duty. She was a complex character, torn between her responsibilities and her own desires, a conflict that would make her a key player in the unfolding tragedy. Saipho, Themba's closest confidant, was the anchor in his friend's increasingly tumultuous life. He was a pragmatic soul, his feet firmly planted on the ground, his perspective grounded in reason and tradition. He had witnessed Themba's growing obsession with Naledi with concern, seeing the darkness that was slowly consuming his friend. He had tried to warn him, to remind him of the dangers of tampering with the supernatural, but his words were often dismissed, overshadowed by Themba's desperate desire. Saipho's loyalty to Themba was unwavering, but his fear for his friend's soul was a constant source of anxiety. He was a character driven by loyalty and a deep sense of responsibility, a foil to Themba's impulsive nature. Their friendship, a bond forged in childhood, would be tested by the choices Themba was about to make. The village Sangoma, Gogo Namsa, was a woman of immense power and knowledge, her connection to the spirit world as strong as the roots of the ancient baobab trees. She had witnessed the ebb and flow of life in the valley for decades, her wisdom a source of guidance for the community. She could sense the growing darkness in Themba's heart, the imbalance that was about to disrupt the harmony of their world. She was a protector, a guardian of the ancient ways, and she knew that she would have to confront the darkness that was about to engulf her village. She was a force to be reckoned with, a formidable presence who would stand against the encroaching evil. Her initial motivation was to maintain the balance of her world, a goal that would bring her into direct conflict with Themba's desperate choices. Themba, driven by his burning desire, sought Madlamini, the reclusive woman whispered to traffic with shadows. She eyes like chipped obsidian, revealed the Tokoloshe's power, a dangerous pact for Naledi's heart. Saipho, discovering Themba's dark deal, confronted him, the village's unease growing with each whispered rumor. Naledi, strangely drawn to Themba, yet unsettled by an unseen force, unknowingly danced in the Tokoloshe's web. The first twist, Madlamini, bound to the Tokoloshe herself, manipulated Themba, not just for his desire, but for her own twisted agenda, a secret that would soon unravel the world. Themba's primary goal, fueled by his desperate longing, was to win Naledi's love, regardless of the cost. His initial obstacle was the seemingly unbridgeable gap between their social standings and Naledi's existing betrothal to a neighboring chief. He believed that the Tokoloshe, with its promise of supernatural intervention, was the only way to overcome these barriers. This desperate desire led him down a treacherous path, his actions driven by a love that had become a dangerous obsession. He sought the aid of Madlamini, a woman whispered to possess the knowledge of the dark arts, hoping she held the key to his heart's desire. This initial step, this decision to seek supernatural help, set the stage for the unfolding tragedy. Madlamini, though seemingly offering assistance, had her own agenda. Her goal was not simply to grant Themba's wish, but to further her own twisted ambitions, using the Tokoloshe as a tool for her own malevolent purposes. She saw Themba as a pawn in her game, a means to an end. Her initial obstacle was gaining Themba's trust, which she accomplished by preying on his desperation. She manipulated him with promises of love and happiness, knowing that his obsession would blind him to her true intentions. Her character introduced a subplot, revealing a darker undercurrent to the narrative, suggesting that Themba's actions were not just about love, but about a much larger, more sinister game. Naledi, caught in the middle of this unfolding drama, was initially unaware of the forces at play. Her goal was to fulfill her duty to her family and her people, to marry the man chosen for her, and to lead a life of responsibility. However, she found herself increasingly drawn to Themba, her heart swayed by an unseen force. Her initial obstacle was her own sense of duty, the expectations placed upon her by her family and her community. This internal conflict, the struggle between her duty and her growing feelings for Themba, created a subplot that explored the complexities of love and responsibility. Her confusion and internal struggle added depth to her character, making her more than just a passive object of desire. Saipho, witnessing Themba's descent into darkness, made it his goal to save his friend from the clutches of the Tokoloshe. His initial obstacle was Themba's unwavering belief in the power of the Tokoloshe and his refusal to listen to reason. Saipho's loyalty to Themba was unwavering, but his attempts to intervene were met with resistance, highlighting the growing distance between them. This subplot explored the complexities of friendship and the limits of loyalty, revealing the deep bond between Themba and Saipho, a bond that was about to be tested to its breaking point. His determination to help Themba added a layer of emotional depth to the narrative. The dynamic between Themba and Naledi became increasingly complex. The Tokoloshe's influence created a false sense of intimacy, masking the manipulation that was at play. Naledi found herself drawn to Themba, but also unsettled by his behavior, creating a tension that hinted at the unraveling of their relationship. The relationship between Themba and Saipho was also strained, as Saipho's attempts to help were met with resistance and suspicion. These complex dynamics, these tangled relationships, added layers of conflict to the narrative, setting the stage for the dramatic events that were about to unfold. The initial obstacles faced by each character were not just external but internal, revealing the complex nature of their individual struggles. The inciting incident that shattered the fragile peace of Kwazuma and propelled the story forward was the sudden and inexplicable illness that befell Chief Zola, Naledi's father. The chief, a man of robust health and unwavering strength, was struck down by a mysterious ailment, his body weakening with each passing day. The village, thrown into chaos and despair, turned to Gogo Namsa for answers, their hope dwindling as the chief's condition worsened. This unexpected event disrupted the established order, creating a sense of urgency and forcing the characters to confront the consequences of Themba's actions. It was the catalyst that ignited the main conflict, setting the stage for the dramatic events that were about to unfold. The chief's illness was not a natural affliction, but a direct result of the Tokoloshe's growing influence. Madlamini, using the creature's power, had deliberately targeted the chief, weakening his spirit and destabilizing the village. Her motive was to create chaos and fear, further solidifying her control over the community. This revelation, though not immediately known to the villagers, added a layer of sinister intrigue to the narrative, highlighting the malevolence of Madlamini's intentions. It was a turning point that transformed the initial conflict, moving it beyond a simple love triangle to a battle for the soul of the village. Themba, witnessing the suffering caused by the chief's illness, began to feel a flicker of remorse. He realized that his actions had unleashed a darkness that was now threatening to consume everyone he cared about. His initial motivation, driven by his obsession for Naledi, was now challenged by a growing sense of responsibility. He started to question the path he had chosen, the pact he had made with the Tokoloshe, and the price he was now paying for his desperate desire. This internal conflict, the struggle between his desire and his conscience, became a driving force behind his actions, setting him on a path toward redemption. Naledi, deeply affected by her father's illness, found herself torn between her duty to her family and her growing feelings for Themba. She saw the desperation in his eyes, the remorse that was beginning to surface, and she questioned her own role in the unfolding tragedy. Her initial motivation, to fulfill her duty to her people, was now challenged by her growing awareness of the Tokoloshe's influence and the part Themba had played in unleashing it. She became determined to uncover the truth and to protect her community from the darkness that was threatening to engulf them. This determination transformed her into an active participant in the conflict, shifting her role from a passive object of desire to a woman of action. Saipho, witnessing the devastation caused by the chief's illness, felt his loyalty to Themba tested to its limits. He knew that his friend was somehow involved, and he was determined to uncover the truth. His initial motivation, to protect his friend, was now challenged by his growing awareness of the danger Themba had unleashed upon their community. He began to investigate Madlamini, suspecting her involvement in the unfolding events. This decision transformed him into a key player in the conflict, adding a layer of intrigue and suspense to the narrative. He became a force for truth and justice, determined to expose the darkness that had taken root in their village. Gogo Namsa, recognizing the signs of dark magic at play, knew that the chief's illness was not a natural occurrence. She saw the Tokoloshe's influence spreading like a disease, corrupting the very fabric of their community. Her initial motivation, to protect her people, was now intensified by the growing threat. She began to prepare for a confrontation with the Tokoloshe, knowing that she was the only one who could restore balance to their world. This decision transformed her into the main antagonist against the Tokoloshe and Madlamini, setting the stage for the climactic battle that was about to unfold. The inciting incident had forced all the characters to take action, altering the status quo and initiating the main conflict that would define their destinies. The chief's worsening condition cast a long shadow over Kwazuma, the once vibrant village now shrouded in fear and uncertainty. The crops began to wither, the animals grew restless, and the villagers whispered amongst themselves, their unease palpable. This marked the beginning of the rising action, the consequences of Themba's actions now rippling through the community. The initial shock of the chief's illness gave way to a growing sense of dread, as the Tokoloshe's influence became increasingly evident. The once familiar world was now tainted by an unseen darkness, a constant reminder of the dangers of tampering with forces beyond human comprehension. Themba, witnessing the suffering he had caused, found himself increasingly tormented by guilt. His initial desire to win Nalady's love had morphed into a desperate need to undo the damage he had unleashed. He sought solace in the solitude of the veldt, wrestling with his conscience and the growing realization that he had made a terrible mistake. His motivation shifted from a selfish desire to a selfless need to atone for his actions, a transformation that would define his journey. He was no longer the naive young man blinded by love, but a man burdened by the weight of his choices. Nalady, now aware of the Tokoloshe's influence, began to investigate Madlamini, her suspicions growing with each passing day. She sought guidance from Gogo Namsa, learning about the ancient ways and the power of the spirit world. Her motivation shifted from fulfilling her duty to her family to protecting her community from the encroaching darkness. She was no longer just a daughter of the chief, but a warrior determined to fight for the survival of her people. Her growing understanding of the supernatural world added a new dimension to her character, transforming her into a force to be reckoned with. Saifo, driven by his loyalty to Themba and his growing concern for the village, continued his investigation, uncovering disturbing truths about Madlamini's past. He discovered that she was not just a simple outcast, but a woman with a history of dark magic and a deep-seated hatred for the village. His motivation shifted from protecting his friend to exposing the truth and ensuring that justice was served. He became a relentless pursuer of the truth, determined to uncover the secrets that threatened to destroy his community. His character added a layer of suspense to the narrative, his investigations creating a sense of urgency and anticipation. Gogo Namsa, feeling the Tokoloshe's power growing stronger, began to prepare for a confrontation. She sought the guidance of her ancestors, performing ancient rituals to strengthen her spirit and prepare for the battle ahead. Her motivation was to restore balance to the world and to protect her people from the encroaching darkness. She became a beacon of hope in the face of despair, a powerful force ready to challenge the evil that threatened to consume them. Her preparation added a sense of anticipation to the narrative, setting the stage for the climactic battle that was about to unfold. A new character, a mysterious wanderer named Zola, arrived in the village, his presence adding a layer of intrigue to the unfolding events. He was an outcast, a man who had seen the world, and possessed a deep understanding of the supernatural. His motivation was unclear, his intentions shrouded in mystery, but his presence was a catalyst for change, adding a new dynamic to the narrative. He seemed to be drawn to the conflict, his arrival adding a layer of uncertainty to the unfolding events. His character introduced a subplot, suggesting that there were forces at play beyond the immediate conflict. The relationships between the characters became increasingly complex. Themba, tormented by guilt, found himself isolated, his connection to his family and friends strained by his actions. Naledi, though initially drawn to Themba, now viewed him with a mixture of pity and anger, her trust shattered by his betrayal. Saifo, torn between his loyalty to Themba and his responsibility to his community, found himself increasingly conflicted. These strained relationships added a layer of emotional depth to the narrative, highlighting the personal cost of Themba's actions. The setting of the story expanded beyond the immediate confines of the village, as the characters ventured into the surrounding veldt, seeking answers and confronting the forces of darkness. The ancient forests, the sacred mountains, and the hidden caves became settings for key scenes, adding a layer of atmosphere and symbolism to the narrative. The natural world itself seemed to be responding to the growing darkness, the elements reflecting the turmoil within the village. This expansion of the setting added a sense of scope and scale to the narrative. The subplot involving Madlamini's past became increasingly prominent, revealing her connection to the Tokoloshe and her motives for seeking revenge on the village. Her character became more complex, her actions driven by a deep-seated bitterness and a desire for power. This subplot added a layer of intrigue and suspense to the narrative, suggesting that the conflict was not just about Themba's obsession, but about a much larger, more sinister game. The rising action was marked by a growing sense of urgency, as the consequences of Themba's actions became increasingly dire. The characters were forced to confront their own flaws and to make difficult choices, their motivations evolving as they navigated the treacherous path ahead. The stage was set for the climactic confrontation, the battle between light and darkness that would determine the fate of Kwazuma. The rising action intensified as the Tokoloshe's influence spread further into Kwazuma, corrupting the very fabric of the community. The once harmonious village was now plagued by suspicion and distrust, the villagers turning against each other, their fear fueled by the unseen presence of the malevolent creature. This escalation of conflict created a sense of urgency, pushing the characters to their limits and forcing them to confront the consequences of their actions. The stakes were raised, and the future of the village hung precariously in the balance. Themba's internal conflict deepened as he grappled with the enormity of his mistake. He tried to find a way to break the Tokoloshe's hold, but his attempts were met with resistance, his efforts seemingly futile. His guilt grew with each passing day, his remorse a constant companion. He was trapped in a web of his own making, his desperate desire for love having unleashed a darkness that he could no longer control. This internal struggle added a layer of complexity to his character, highlighting the devastating consequences of his choices. Naledi, now fully aware of the Tokoloshe's influence, embarked on a quest to find a way to defeat it. She sought the guidance of Gogo Namsa, delving deeper into the ancient traditions and the power of the spirit world. She discovered that the Tokoloshe could only be defeated by a sacrifice, a selfless act of love that would break its hold on the village. This revelation presented her with a moral dilemma, forcing her to confront the possibility of making the ultimate sacrifice. Her character became a symbol of hope and resilience, her determination a beacon in the face of despair. Saifo, driven by his unwavering loyalty to Themba, uncovered a hidden truth about Madlamini's past, revealing her connection to a powerful dark sorcerer who had been banished from the village many years ago. This revelation deepened the subplot involving Madlamini, suggesting that her actions were part of a larger, more sinister plan. He realized that she was not just a pawn of the Tokoloshe, but a force of evil in her own right. His investigation added a layer of intrigue to the narrative, revealing the extent of the darkness that had taken root in their world. Gogo Namsa, feeling the Tokoloshe's power growing stronger, began to prepare for the final confrontation. She gathered her herbs, chanted her prayers, and sought the guidance of her ancestors. She knew that the battle ahead would be a dangerous one, and she prepared her spirit for the challenge. Her determination to protect her people became a driving force, her resolve unwavering in the face of the encroaching darkness. Her character became a symbol of strength and wisdom, her presence a source of hope for the beleaguered villagers. The mysterious wanderer, Zola, revealed his true identity as a descendant of the banished sorcerer, his arrival in the village, not a coincidence, but a calculated move. He offered his assistance to Naledi and Sifo, his knowledge of dark magic proving invaluable in their fight against the Tokoloshe. His presence added a layer of complexity to the narrative, suggesting that the conflict was not just about good versus evil, but about the legacy of the past and the power of redemption. His character introduced a new dynamic, his motivations adding an element of uncertainty to the unfolding events. The subplots became increasingly intertwined, revealing the interconnectedness of the characters' fates. Themba's desire for love, Madlamini's thirst for revenge, Naledi's sense of duty, and Sifo's loyalty to his friend all converged, creating a complex web of relationships and motivations. The characters were forced to confront their own flaws and to make difficult choices, their destinies intertwined in the battle against the encroaching darkness. The escalating stakes and the deepening subplots created a sense of tension and anticipation, setting the stage for the climactic confrontation. The relationships between the characters were tested to their limits. Themba's guilt and remorse created a chasm between him and his friends, his isolation growing with each passing day. Naledi's determination to protect her people led her to question her own feelings for Themba, her heart torn between her duty and her compassion. Sifo's loyalty to Themba was tested by his growing awareness of his friend's betrayal, his heart torn between his love for his friend and his responsibility to his community. These strained relationships added a layer of emotional depth to the narrative, highlighting the personal cost of the conflict. The setting of the story became a reflection of the growing darkness, the once vibrant landscape now tainted by the Tokoloshe's influence. The forests grew darker, the rivers became murky, and the very air seemed to vibrate with malevolent energy. The natural world itself seemed to be responding to the conflict, mirroring the turmoil within the village. This use of setting added a layer of symbolism to the narrative, enhancing the sense of unease and anticipation. The rising action reached its peak, the characters facing their greatest challenges, their motivations fully developed, and their destinies intertwined in the battle against the Tokoloshe. The stage was set for the climactic confrontation, the battle between light and darkness that would determine the fate of Kwazuma. The tension was palpable, the characters on the brink of a life-altering event, their choices about to define their futures. The rising action reached its crescendo as the characters approached the climax, the tension mounting with each passing moment. A major turning point occurred when Themba, consumed by guilt and remorse, decided to confront Madlamini, seeking a way to break the Tokoloshe's hold. This decision marked a significant shift in his character, transforming him from a passive victim of his own desires into an active participant in the fight against the darkness. He was no longer the naive young man blinded by love, but a man willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of his community. This pivotal moment set the stage for the final confrontation, his actions now driven by a desire for redemption. Naledi, having learned about the sacrifice needed to defeat the Tokoloshe, grappled with the possibility of giving her own life. Her sense of duty to her people clashed with her desire to live, creating a deep internal conflict. This dilemma forced her to confront her own mortality and to make a choice that would determine not only her fate, but the fate of her community. This pivotal moment transformed her into a symbol of selfless love and courage, her character now embodying the spirit of sacrifice. She was ready to face her destiny, her heart filled with both fear and determination. Sifo, having uncovered Madlamini's connection to the banished sorcerer, decided to expose her to the village, revealing her true intentions and her role in unleashing the Tokoloshe. This act of courage marked a turning point in the narrative, shattering Madlamini's facade and galvanizing the villagers to take a stand against the encroaching darkness. He became a catalyst for change, his actions uniting the community in their fight against evil. His character now embodied the spirit of truth and justice, his loyalty to his friend and his community driving his every action. Gogo Namsa, having completed her preparations, gathered the villagers for a final ritual, seeking the guidance of her ancestors and strengthening their spirits for the battle ahead. This pivotal moment marked the culmination of her preparations, her power now fully unleashed. She became a beacon of hope, her presence a source of strength and courage for the beleaguered villagers. Her character now embodied the wisdom and power of the ancient ways, her resolve unwavering in the face of the encroaching darkness. Zola, the mysterious wanderer, revealed his connection to the banished sorcerer, explaining his motives for returning to the village. He shared his knowledge of dark magic, offering his assistance to Naledi and Sifo in their fight against the Tokoloshe. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the narrative, suggesting that the conflict was not just about good versus evil, but about the legacy of the past and the possibility of redemption. His character became a symbol of hope, his knowledge proving invaluable in their fight against the Tokoloshe. The relationships between the characters reached a critical point. Themba, realizing the depth of his mistakes, sought forgiveness from Naledi and Sifo, his remorse genuine and his desire for redemption unwavering. Naledi, torn between her duty and her compassion, finally understood the true meaning of love and sacrifice. Sifo, having witnessed his friend's transformation, renewed his loyalty to Themba, his heart filled with both hope and sadness. These strained relationships now transformed into bonds of unity and understanding, the characters united in their fight against the darkness. The setting of the story became a battleground, the natural world reflecting the turmoil within the village. The storms raged, the earth trembled, and the very air crackled with malevolent energy. The ancient forests, the sacred mountains, and the hidden caves became the stage for the final confrontation, the elements themselves seeming to be participating in the battle between light and darkness. This use of setting heightened the tension and anticipation, setting the stage for the climactic battle. The subplots converged, revealing the interconnectedness of the characters' fates. Themba's desire for love, Madlamini's thirst for revenge, Naledi's sense of duty, and Sifo's loyalty to his friend all led to this pivotal moment, their destinies intertwined in the fight against the Tokoloshe. The characters were forced to confront their own flaws and to make difficult choices, their motivations fully developed and their paths leading to the climactic confrontation. The rising action was marked by a sense of urgency and anticipation, the characters on the brink of a life-altering event. The stage was set for the final confrontation, the battle between light and darkness that would determine the fate of Kwazuma. The tension was palpable, the characters facing their greatest challenges, their destinies intertwined in the fight against the encroaching evil. The narrative was now poised for the climax, the culmination of all the events that had led to this point. The characters had reached their peak, their motivations fully developed, and their choices about to define their futures. The final battle was about to begin, the fate of Kwazuma hanging precariously in the balance. The build up to the climax was marked by a palpable sense of anticipation, the characters preparing for the final confrontation with the Tokoloshe and Madlamini. Minor confrontations erupted as the villagers, emboldened by Sifo's revelations, turned against Madlamini, her authority now shattered. These minor skirmishes served as a prelude to the main battle, foreshadowing the larger conflict that was about to unfold. The villagers, once divided by fear, were now united in their determination to reclaim their community from the encroaching darkness. This unity was a testament to the power of truth and the resilience of the human spirit. Themba, having resolved to sacrifice himself, sought a final moment of peace with Naledi, confessing his love and his remorse. This poignant scene foreshadowed the ultimate sacrifice that was about to take place, highlighting the depth of his transformation and the sincerity of his desire for redemption. Their interaction served as a minor resolution to their personal conflict, their hearts now aligned in their fight against the darkness. This moment of peace provided a brief respite before the storm, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. Naledi, having accepted her fate, prepared to face the Tokoloshe, her heart filled with both fear and determination. She sought guidance from Gogo Namsa, learning the ancient rituals that would empower her for the final battle. This preparation foreshadowed her role in the climax, her character now embodying the spirit of selfless love and sacrifice. She was ready to face her destiny, her heart filled with both fear and courage. Her character had fully transformed from a passive object of desire to a powerful force of good. Saifo, having exposed Madlamini's treachery, rallied the villagers, preparing them for the final confrontation. He became a leader, his courage and determination inspiring those around him. This moment of leadership marked a minor resolution to his character arc, transforming him from a loyal friend to a powerful force for justice. He was ready to lead his people into battle, his heart filled with both hope and determination. His actions foreshadowed the role he would play in the climax, his leadership skills proving invaluable in the fight against the darkness. Gogo Namsa, having completed her preparations, performed a final ritual, invoking the power of her ancestors and strengthening the spirits of the villagers. This powerful display of her magic foreshadowed her role in the climax, her power now fully unleashed. She was ready to face the Tokoloshe, her heart filled with both wisdom and strength. Her character now embodied the power of the ancient ways, her resolve unwavering in the face of the encroaching darkness. This ritual served as a symbolic preparation for the battle ahead, highlighting the importance of tradition and the power of the spirit world. Zola, the mysterious wanderer, revealed his connection to the banished sorcerer, offering his knowledge of dark magic to aid in the fight against the Tokoloshe. This revelation foreshadowed his role in the climax, his knowledge proving invaluable in the final battle. He became an unexpected ally, his character adding a layer of complexity to the narrative. His actions were driven by a desire for redemption, his past mistakes now motivating him to fight for the greater good. The characters formed alliances, their individual goals now aligned in the fight against the common enemy. Themba, Naledi, Saifo, Gogo Namsa, and Zola united their forces, their combined strength a beacon of hope in the face of despair. These alliances foreshadowed the collaborative nature of the climax, highlighting the importance of unity in the fight against evil. Their combined strength was a testament to the power of community and the resilience of the human spirit. Minor plot resolutions occurred as some of the subplots were resolved, preparing the stage for the main conflict. Madlamini's treachery was exposed, her authority shattered, and her power weakened. Themba's internal conflict was resolved, his desire for redemption now guiding his actions. Naledi's internal dilemma was resolved, her sense of duty now aligned with her desire to protect her community. These minor resolutions paved the way for the major conflict that was about to unfold, the stage now set for the final battle. The build-up to the climax was marked by a sense of urgency and anticipation, the characters preparing for the final confrontation. The stage was set for the climactic battle, the fate of Kwazuma hanging precariously in the balance. The characters had reached their peak, their motivations fully developed, and their choices about to define their futures. The final confrontation was about to begin, the battle between light and darkness about to reach its culmination. The final build-up to the climax saw tensions reach their peak, the characters facing their last challenges as the narrative threads converged. Themba, on his path to redemption, faced his final obstacle, a test of his resolve by the Tokoloshe itself. This challenge forced him to confront his deepest fears and to prove the sincerity of his remorse. He was no longer driven by selfish desires, but by a selfless need to atone for his mistakes. This final test served as a crucial moment in his character arc, ensuring that he was fully prepared for the ultimate sacrifice. Naledi, having accepted her fate, faced her final challenge, the emotional weight of her impending sacrifice. She spent her last moments with her loved ones, her heart filled with both sadness and a profound sense of purpose. This emotional burden served as a powerful reminder of the stakes involved, highlighting the depth of her love for her people. She was ready to face her destiny, her heart filled with both fear and courage. Her character now embodied the spirit of selfless love and sacrifice, her resolve unwavering in the face of death. Sifo, now a leader of his people, faced his final challenge, the responsibility of guiding the villagers into battle. He had to ensure that they were prepared for the confrontation, their spirits strengthened and their determination unwavering. This challenge tested his leadership skills, forcing him to rise to the occasion and to guide his people through the darkness. He was ready to lead them into battle, his heart filled with both hope and a deep sense of responsibility. His character now embodied the spirit of courage and leadership, his loyalty to his friend and his community driving his every action. Gogo Namsa, having completed her preparations, faced her final challenge, the confrontation with the Tokoloshe itself. She knew that this battle would test her power and her wisdom, her resolve unwavering in the face of the encroaching darkness. She was ready to face the Tokoloshe, her heart filled with both wisdom and strength. Her character now embodied the power of the ancient ways, her presence a beacon of hope for the beleaguered villagers. This final challenge would test her abilities to their limits, her fate intertwined with the fate of her community. Zola, having revealed his connection to the banished sorcerer, faced his final challenge, the need to reconcile with his past. He had to confront the legacy of his ancestor and to use his knowledge of dark magic for good. This challenge tested his resolve, forcing him to choose between his past and his future. He was ready to face his destiny, his heart filled with both remorse and a desire for redemption. His character now embodied the possibility of change and the power of forgiveness. The emotional stakes were heightened as the characters faced the possibility of death, their love for each other and their community driving their actions. Themba's desire for redemption, Nalady's sense of duty, Sifo's loyalty to his friend, Gogo Namsa's commitment to her people, and Zola's desire for forgiveness all converged, creating a powerful emotional undercurrent that drove the narrative forward. The characters were fully invested in the conflict, their hearts and souls committed to the fight against the encroaching darkness. The narrative threads were carefully aligned, ensuring that all the subplots were ready to converge in the climax. Madlamini's treachery was fully exposed, her motivations now clear, and her power weakened. Themba's internal conflict was resolved, his desire for redemption now guiding his actions. Nalady's internal dilemma was resolved, her sense of duty now aligned with her desire to protect her community. Sifo's loyalty was fully tested, his leadership skills now evident. Gogo Namsa's power was fully unleashed, her wisdom and strength now ready for the final battle. Zola's past was fully revealed, his knowledge now crucial to the fight against the Tokoloshe. The final tensions mounted as the characters prepared for the climactic confrontation, their hearts filled with both hope and fear. The stage was set for the final battle, the fate of Kwazuma hanging precariously in the balance. The characters had reached their peak, their motivations fully developed, and their choices about to define their futures. The final showdown was about to begin, the battle between light and darkness about to reach its culmination. The narrative was now poised for the climax, all the threads carefully aligned, the characters fully prepared, and the stage set for the final battle. The tension was palpable, the emotional stakes at their highest, and the fate of Kwazuma hanging precariously in the balance. The final confrontation was about to begin, the battle between light and darkness about to reach its epic conclusion. The climax of this story erupted in a maelstrom of chaos and courage, the final confrontation between the villagers and the Tokoloshe reaching its peak. Themba, driven by his desire for redemption, confronted the Tokoloshe directly, his sacrifice a pivotal moment in the battle. He plunged a sacred spear into the heart of the creature, a selfless act that weakened its power and broke its hold on the village. This decisive action resolved the main conflict, his transformation from a man consumed by darkness to a hero who gave his life for his people now complete. His sacrifice was the key to defeating the Tokoloshe, a testament to the power of redemption and the strength of the human spirit. Naledi, empowered by the ancient rituals, confronted Madlamini, her resolve unwavering in the face of her treachery. This confrontation was a culmination of their conflict, their destinies intertwined in the fight against the darkness. Naledi, embodying the spirit of selfless love, used her power to banish Madlamini from the village, her defeat a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of good over evil. This decisive action resolved a key subplot, her character now fully realized as a leader and a protector of her people. Her actions demonstrated the power of courage and the importance of standing up for what is right. Saifo, leading the villagers into battle, fought bravely against the Tokoloshe's minions, his courage and determination inspiring those around him. His leadership was a key factor in the villagers' victory, his character now fully realized as a protector and a leader. This decisive action resolved his personal conflict, his loyalty to his friend and his community now fully aligned. His actions demonstrated the importance of leadership and the power of unity in the face of adversity. He had become a true leader, his courage and determination inspiring all those around him. Gogo Namsa, with the power of her ancestors, unleashed her magic, weakening the Tokoloshe and its minions. Her presence was a beacon of hope, her wisdom and strength guiding the villagers through the darkness. This decisive action resolved her personal conflict, her role as the protector of her people now fully realized. Her actions demonstrated the power of the ancient ways and the importance of tradition in the fight against evil. She had become a symbol of strength and wisdom, her presence a source of hope for her community. Zola, using his knowledge of dark magic, provided invaluable assistance, his actions motivated by his desire for redemption. This decisive action resolved his personal conflict, his past mistakes now driving him to fight for the greater good. His character now embodied the possibility of change and the power of forgiveness. His actions demonstrated the importance of accepting one's past and using one's knowledge for good. The climactic battle culminated in the defeat of the Tokoloshe and Madlamini, their reign of terror finally over. The main conflict was resolved, the darkness banished from Kwazuma, and the villagers were finally free from their grip. The subplots were also resolved, the characters having achieved their goals and their destinies fulfilled. The narrative threads converged, creating a powerful and satisfying conclusion to the story. The village was finally at peace, the balance restored, and the people were free to rebuild their lives. Now, consider the weight of Themba's sacrifice, the courage of Naledi, the leadership of Saifo, the wisdom of Gogo Namsa, and the redemption of Zola. Reflect on the choices they made, the battles they fought, and the lessons they learned. Think about the power of love, the importance of community, and the dangers of obsession. Ask yourself, what would you do in their shoes? How would you face such challenges? What would you sacrifice for those you love? This is where the story finds its conclusion, but it is also where the real reflection begins. The echoes of this tale will resonate within you, prompting you to examine your own values, your own choices, and your own capacity for both good and evil. Consider the lessons learned and carry them with you as you navigate your own path. The aftermath of the climactic battle saw Kwazuma slowly begin to heal, the scars of the Tokoloshe's reign serving as a constant reminder of the dangers of unchecked desire and the importance of respecting the ancient ways. The village was no longer the same, the experience having transformed its people, their resilience tested and their spirits strengthened. The memory of Themba's sacrifice became a cornerstone of their community, his story a cautionary tale and a testament to the power of redemption. The once divided village was now united by a shared experience, their bonds strengthened by the trials they had overcome. Naledi, having survived the ordeal, ascended to her rightful place as the leader of her people, her wisdom and courage guiding them through the challenges ahead. She ruled with compassion and understanding, her leadership a reflection of the lessons she had learned during the conflict. Her character had fully evolved, from a dutiful daughter to a powerful leader, her life now dedicated to serving her community and ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. She became a symbol of hope and resilience, her actions a testament to the power of the human spirit. Saifo, forever marked by the loss of his friend, became a keeper of Themba's story, ensuring that his sacrifice would not be forgotten. He shared his tale with the younger generations, warning them of the dangers of obsession and the importance of respecting the balance of the world. His character had evolved from a loyal friend to a wise elder, his life now dedicated to preserving the memory of his friend and protecting his community from future threats. He became a guardian of their history, his voice a constant reminder of the lessons learned. Gogo Namso, her role as the village Sangoma reaffirmed, continued to guide her people, her wisdom and power a source of comfort and strength. She taught them the importance of respecting the spirit world and the dangers of tampering with forces beyond human understanding. Her character had fully evolved, her role as the protector of her people now fully realized. She became a symbol of wisdom and strength, her presence a constant reminder of the power of the ancient ways. She would continue to guide her people, ensuring their safety and well-being. Zola, having found redemption, dedicated his life to helping others, using his knowledge of dark magic for good. He became a healer, his past mistakes now motivating him to fight for the well-being of his community. His character had fully evolved, his past now a source of strength and his knowledge a tool for good. He became a symbol of forgiveness and the possibility of change, his life a testament to the power of redemption. He would continue to use his knowledge to help others, his past now a source of wisdom. The epilogue revealed the enduring impact of the events, the story of Themba and the Tokoloshe becoming a legend passed down through generations. The valley of Kwazuma was forever marked by the events that had transpired, the landscape itself a testament to the power of love, loss, and redemption. The tale served as a cautionary reminder of the dangers of obsession and the importance of respecting the delicate balance of the world. The memory of Themba's sacrifice would continue to inspire, his story a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there is always the possibility of redemption. Now, as the echoes of this tale fade, consider the lessons you have learned. Think about the choices you make, the desires that drive you, and the consequences of your actions. Ask yourself, what will be your legacy? How will you use your own power? Will you choose the path of light or the path of darkness? Will you be remembered for your courage, your compassion, or your selfishness? This is the end of the story, but it is also the beginning of your own journey. Carry the lessons of Kwazuma with you, and let them guide you as you navigate your own path. Remember the power of love, the importance of community, and the dangers of unchecked desire. Choose wisely, and may your own story be one of courage, compassion, and redemption.